Have you ever noticed that your cat seems to know exactly where you are? You move to another room, and somehow they're right behind you. You sit down, and they're suddenly beside you. It might look like a habit, but some of these behaviours reveal something much deeper. Your cat may have formed an unusually strong attachment to you. Today you'll discover 20 signs that show your cat is truly imprinted on you, and the last one might really touch your heart. And when we say imprinted, we mean your cat has formed an especially strong attachment to you, not literal imprinting in the technical sense. Stay until the end, because your cat deserves to be understood. You get up for a glass of water, and before you've even reached the kitchen, you already sense them behind you. Cats have a reputation for independence, so why do they trail you like a shadow? This isn't idle curiosity. Animal behaviourists describe this as secure base behaviour, the same pattern young children show with a parent. Following you from room to room is your cat's way of staying close to the one presence they've built their sense of safety around. It's less about watching you, and more about not wanting to lose you. Some cats will even wait outside a closed bathroom door, not because they need anything, but simply because the door interrupted the connection they were maintaining. If you've ever felt like your cat has a sixth sense for when you're about to get up, this is likely why they're paying closer attention to your patterns than most people realise. Even the pace matters. Some cats trot to keep up if you're walking briskly, but settle into a slower, more relaxed follow if you're just wandering the house with nothing in particular, to do as though they're reading your mood as much as your movement. The moment you walk in, you get a soft rub against your leg or hand. This isn't just physical contact. Cats have scent glands on their head, cheeks, and tail, and rubbing deposits their scent onto you. It's easy to read this as territorial marking, but for a cat it's really about blending your scent with theirs, folding you into their world. When they do it more intensely after you've been gone for hours, it's a sign they're re-establishing that closeness. Multi-cat households often reveal this even more clearly. A cat may rub against you first, before greeting the other cats, almost as if reconnecting with you takes priority. Some cats even develop a specific root ankles, then a figure eight around your legs, then a final head rub, a small ritual that looks almost identical every single time you walk through the door. Adult cats use meows much more frequently with humans than they typically do with other adult cats. Over time, they learn which tones get your attention, and their meow toward you becomes distinct from their meow toward anything else. A softer or more insistent meow after time apart isn't random. It's a cat adjusting their voice specifically for you, which is its own quiet form of recognition. Many guardians report being able to tell, just from tone alone, whether their cat is asking for food, attention, or simply announcing that they've arrived home. A level of vocal nuance that develops specifically around one household, one routine, one person. Cats raised around multiple people sometimes even use slightly different meows for each person in the house, which suggests the sound isn't fixed, it's shaped by whoever they're trying to reach. A toy, a feather, sometimes something far less pleasant left at your feet. It looks strange, but it echoes something real in feline behaviour. Mother cats bring prey to teach kittens how to hunt. When your cat brings something to you, it may reflect social bonding, or an attempt to share something they consider valuable with you. It's not the gift itself that matters, it's what the gesture represents. Indoor cats without access to real prey will sometimes substitute toys for this exact ritual, dropping them at your feet, and then watching expectantly, almost waiting for some kind of acknowledgement before wandering off satisfied. You come home to find them curled up on your hoodie. Cats have an extremely sharp sense of smell, and they associate familiar scents with safety. Your clothes carry your scent, and sleeping on them is a way of staying close to you even when you're not there. This tends to show up more in cats who spend long stretches of the day without you. The scent becomes a stand-in for your presence. It's also why some cats seek out freshly worn clothing specifically, ignoring clean laundry entirely in favour of whatever still smells like you. This same instinct can show up in other forms too, a cat curling up on your pillow, claiming a warm pair of shoes, or settling into an unmade side of the bed, rather than any other spot in the room. The common thread is always the same. Given a choice between something clean and something that smells like you, they'll usually choose you. Cats climb for a lot of reasons, but when a cat consistently picks elevated spots specifically to keep you in view, it's doing more than surveying the room. Height gives them a sense of security while letting them track you. Some cats even reposition themselves as you move through the house, keeping a kind of constant visual thread connecting them to you. You might notice this most clearly during video calls, or while cooking moments when you're stationary long enough for your cat to settle into a perch and simply watch, occasionally shifting position to keep you in sight without ever coming down to interact directly. If your cat licks your hand, arm or face, that's not a small thing. In feline social structures, grooming allogrooming is reserved for members of the same trusted group. When a cat grooms you, they're treating you as part of that inner circle. It's also self-soothing for them, so the moment carries both trust and a kind of shared calm. Interestingly, cats that groom each other in multi-cat homes often groom the same individual repeatedly, rather than rotating between housemates, and when that chosen role extends to a human, it tends to be a fairly consistent, ongoing behaviour, rather than a one-off. It's also common for this to happen right after you've groomed or petted them, almost as if they're returning the gesture rather than initiating something new. Scratched furniture, disturbed cushions, excessive meowing when you get home, these can be signs of separation-related stress, something that shows up in cats more often than people assume. It's worth being careful here. Missing you and experiencing separation stress aren't exactly the same thing. This kind of anxiety can be a sign of a strong bond, but it can also be its own issue worth addressing, for example, with more environmental enrichment or a gradual desensitization to your departures. If it's frequent or severe, it's worth mentioning to a vet. Since ongoing stress can also affect appetite, litter box habits and overall health, not just behaviour in the moment. Purring right after you've been away often carries more than relaxation. It can reflect relief and a kind of emotional reset. Purring is also thought to have a mild self-soothing, even physically calming effect on the cat itself. When they settle onto your lap and start purring specifically after a reunion, it often reads as them re-establishing contact with you, not just getting comfortable. Some guardians notice their cat purrs louder or longer after a longer absence, like a trip. Compared to a quick errand, a subtle clue that the length of separation matters to the cat, even if they can't express it any other way. Purring while on your lap can also be paired with slow, deliberate kneading or a light drooling response, in some cats both associated with the same relaxed, kitten-like state. None of these are things a cat does around someone they feel guarded or uncertain about. This one tends to land hardest for people. In cat body language, sustained eye contact is generally reserved for whoever they feel safest around. It's not something shown indiscriminately. Lying on your chest also puts them close to your warmth, breathing, and familiar scent, all things that can make a bonded cat feel secure. It doesn't guarantee anything about how a cat feels, but it's widely considered one of the clearer signals of trust a cat can offer. Cats that do this often choose quiet, low-stimulation moments to do it right before bed, early in the morning, or during a slow afternoon, as if the behaviour is reserved for times when both of you are already relaxed. Not every cat does this, which is part of why it stands out. A cat that consistently shows up when you come home trotting over, meowing. Weaving around your feet is displaying anticipation, not just noticing a sound. It suggests they've learned to associate the sound of your arrival with something worth reacting to. Some cats even seem to distinguish your footsteps, your car, or your keys from other similar sounds, reacting well before the door actually opens. A level of pattern recognition that only develops around someone they pay close, consistent attention to. It's a habit that tends to fade if a cat feels less secure or unfamiliar with someone, which is part of why a consistent doorway greeting is often treated as a fairly reliable marker of a strong bond, sometimes called the cat kiss. A slow, deliberate blink aimed at you, especially if they hold your gaze while doing it, is widely read as a trust signal in cat body language. if you blink slowly back and they do it again. That's a small back and forth conversation that a lot of cat behaviourists point to as genuine communication, not just coincidence. It's a low-effort behaviour to test out yourself. Many guardians who start deliberately slow blinking at their cats notice their cat responding more consistently over time, almost as if the gesture becomes a shared signal between the two of you. It can feel like they're ignoring you, but turning their back is actually a vulnerable position for a prey and predator animal like a cat. They're exposing their blind spot. A cat that regularly does this near you is in effect saying they don't feel the need to keep watch when you're around. It's a subtle behaviour that's easy to miss. But pay attention next time your cat settles down nearby if they consistently choose to face away rather than keep you in view. That's not indifference, it's comfort. Compare that to how the same cat behaves around someone unfamiliar, where they'll almost always stay angled to keep an eye on the room. The contrast is often the clearest way to notice this one. That paw pressing motion, sometimes called making biscuits, comes from kittenhood, when kittens need their mother while nursing to stimulate milk flow. Adult cats that need a person are often regressing to that same comfort behaviour. It's frequently paired with purring, which reinforces that this is a self-soothing, security-seeking gesture rather than random habit. Some cats need blankets or soft surfaces near you instead of needing you directly, which still tends to happen specifically in your presence rather than when they're alone. This isn't a meow, it's a short bird-like sound cats often reserved specifically for greeting. Mother cats use a similar sound to call kittens to follow them. When your cat trills at you specifically, especially right as you walk in, it functions almost like a targeted greeting rather than a general attention-seeking noise. It's one of the more distinctive sounds in a cat's vocal range, and many guardians say they can recognise it instantly, even from another room. Some cats even use it as a kind of come here invitation, trilling and then walking a few steps toward a food bowl, a favourite spot, or simply back toward you as if checking that you're following along. Cats have scent glands on their forehead too, and a deliberate headbutt against your hand or face is a stronger version of the cheek rub, more direct, more intentional. It tends to happen in quieter, calmer moments rather than during play, which is part of why it's often read as a more deliberate bonding gesture. Some cats will headbutt you and then immediately settle down beside you afterward, almost as though the gesture is a kind of check-in before relaxing fully in your company. Cats are frequently assumed to ignore their names, but many recognise their name and respond just selectively. A cat that reliably comes, or at least glances over and moves toward you, is showing that your voice specifically holds weight for them. This kind of responsiveness usually builds gradually and tends to be stronger with the person the cat spends the most consistent time with. It's also common for cats to respond differently, depending on tone, coming quickly to a warm, familiar call, but barely reacting to the exact same word said flatly or by someone else in the house. Some cats develop this to the point where they respond to specific phrases beyond their name too, like the sound of a treat bag, or a particular word tied to mealtime, evidence that they're tracking your language patterns far more closely than most people give them credit for. Not just in the same room, actually pressed against your leg, curled into your side, or draped over your feet. Physical contact during sleep, when a cat is at their most vulnerable, is a strong indicator of felt safety. A cat that chooses contact over space, especially with other sleeping spots available, is making a fairly clear choice about who they feel secure around. If your cat has an entire house of comfortable, quiet options and still picks the small space next to you, that preference is worth noticing. Waking when you wake, settling in when you sit down to work, showing up around your usual mealtimes, cats are creatures of routine, and some start shaping their schedule around yours specifically, rather than just the household's. This kind of syncing tends to develop over months, not days, which is part of why it's considered a slower building sign of attachment. You might notice it most on days when your schedule shifts a cat that adjusts along with you, rather than sticking to a fixed routine regardless of what you're doing, is paying closer attention to your patterns than to the clock. Weekend versus weekday behaviour is a good test case here. Cats that sleep in later on days when you sleep in or that shift their evening wind down to match yours, are demonstrating a level of routine tracking that goes beyond simple habit, wandering room to room not to explore, but seemingly just to locate you, then wandering off again once they've confirmed where you are. It's subtler than following you continuously, but it shows up in cats that have a strong sense of their person. It can be one of the clearest quiet signals that you function as their anchor point in the house, not because they need constant contact, but because knowing where you are seems to matter to them. It's a low-key behaviour, easy to overlook. But if you start paying attention, you may notice your cat doing a quiet lap through the house every so often, just to confirm you're still there before going back to whatever they were doing. Every cat expresses attachment differently, and not every cat will show all 20 of these. But if several of these sound familiar, it's a good sign that your cat sees you as more than just the person who feeds them. It's also worth remembering that cats build these bonds gradually, through repeated ordinary moments, the daily feeding, the quiet evenings on the couch, the routine of coming home. None of these behaviours happen because of one grand gesture, they build up slowly. The same way trust builds between any two beings who spend enough time together. So if your cat isn't showing all of these signs yet, that doesn't mean the bond isn't there, it may just still be forming. And if you're watching this and recognising more of these signs than you expected, take a moment to appreciate what that actually means. Cats aren't wired to fake affection or perform attachment for approval. Every one of these behaviours takes a small amount of vulnerability on their part. A cat that follows you, sleeps against you and looks you in the eye is a cat that has decided in their own quiet way that you're safe. That's not a small thing, even if it took 20 small signs to notice it. If you want to go deeper, we've got a video on 6 signs your cat might not feel securely bonded to you worth watching, if you want the full picture.